We've just stopped over last night and maybe tonight in Nyköping in Sweden. Here's our beautiful girl looking very summery today, and it's a very beautiful town. So just up to my right, which unfortunately is going to be into the sun, is like a little medieval town that you can go through. Okay guys, so we're currently in Nyköping Museum, and they actually offer not only free entry, but 4 p.m. there is a free English tour of the museum that will give you a bit of the history. But there's a really good brochure which tells you about Nyköping Castle, which was probably built as a defensive tower in the late 12th century. In the mid 13th century, the tower was expanded into a fortress. They also have a fun game for kids while they're going through the museum to hunt down there's big rats and little rats. And this is a big rat. You'll be happy to know that they're soft and fluffy, and not real. But, you know, it's good to keep the kids interested as they're going around. So anyway, it was expanded into a fortress as the king was worried about attacks from the other side of the Baltic Sea. The king also needed a lavish residence to demonstrate his power. One of the big things that this area is well known about was the banquet, or the story of the banquet. So more on that in a minute. So the deal was, there was a big power struggle played out at Nyköping Castle in 1317. The King Birger had invited his brother, Duke Eric and Duke Vladimir, to Nyköping Castle to celebrate a Christmas together. And a small rat. So the brothers had been conducting a long drawn-out feud, and the dukes thought that the invitation meant reconciliation, but Birger had other plans. Dun dun dun! All through the museum you can pick up these guides that are written in obviously English and Swedish, so that will help you understand exactly what you're looking at. But this has been really well done.
What about the shoes?
Even the floor. Like, that is pretty cool. There's a play in summer which is done in the courtyard behind, or within the grounds behind the museum, and that is actually played out on the story of the banquet that went a little bit wrong. So the legend says that the king had his brothers thrown into the fortress dungeon. Eventually the dukes died of starvation. The event is known as the Nyköping banquet. So hence the play that is performed in the square outside. I mean, they've done a fantastic job. You've got to remember, this is a free museum, and with literature provided and guided tours offered. I mean, great job, Nyköping. And we're staying at a wild camp down on the front with free electricity. Not kidding. More on that later.
I am your father.
So as you go further upstairs, we're now in the Fursten period, which was the 1520 to 1650, which is when Sweden is referred to as the Vasa era. In the rest of Europe, this would have been the Renaissance period. This is seriously cool, guys. Like, far out. You gotta love this about Sweden. Look at the size of that loaf. At least you can feed a family with that. This one loaf will do us for 3 days, and may even do some toast as well. Woohoo! Go Sweden. Arriving in Stockholm City, and wow, what a labyrinth of escalators to get out. You didn't even realise how far down you ended up finishing. So here we are. Roadworks, roadworks, and more roadworks. Just beautiful. Zara home. Very nice. The people of Sweden are so well dressed. It's actually beautiful just to people watch, particularly the guys. Cool location to have a beverage or a cocktail, ladies. Many different rooftop styles going down the water. It's beautiful. Looking back down over, we just walked all the way from down here up here. Absolutely gorgeous. Beautiful walk. So we're here today in Stockholm, Sweden, and you're currently looking at Vasa. And we're at the Vasa Museum. On the 10th of August 1628, Vasa set sail on her maiden voyage and sank in Stockholm harbour not long after, like we're talking minutes. The wreck was salvaged in 1961 after 333 years under sea. This is obviously a model, but it's actually the real one over the back here is actually 98% original. I mean, it's pretty extraordinary stuff. On the back of the vessel in particular was all carved sculptures, like all over the whole vessel. There was hundreds of carved sculptures. There's actually a video, and English is only played, I think, twice a day. So 1:30 was the one that we went to. So make sure if you want to watch it, and it's well worth watching it before you go into the museum. 1 o'clock was it? Thanks, love. So really make sure you get that video, because it'll explain exactly what you're looking at, particularly for the kids. But I mean, that's pretty extraordinary stuff. The way they had to preserve it and keep it, because obviously it's been in the water for so long. The sculptures had to go into a water bath. Anyway, there she is. They've done an amazing job, and let's go have a look at the museum. In 1628, Vasa sails from Stockholm on her maiden voyage. It is short. The ship sinks after just 1,500 metres. Vasa lies at a depth of 32 metres in polluted water. The iron bolts in the hull and cannonballs on board rust and diffuse into the wood. The wood is attacked by various bacteria and fungi. 1961, Vasa is raised. New biological and chemical processes begin. (1962 to 1979), Vasa is sprayed with PEG, a preservative that replaces the water in the wood and prevents the wood from cracking. No one has previous experience of conserving such a large ship. 1979 to 1988, Vasa dries and its surface is treated. The hull is given a glossy, waxy finish. Some 14,000 loose parts were recovered around the ship. They are reassembled and remounted on the ship. A new museum opens for Vasa. Conservation is assumed to be finished. The museum's climate system and regular cleaning are assumed to be sufficient to preserve Vasa. Year 2000. A very rainy summer with many visitors reveals that the museum's climate control system is insufficient. Increased humidity in the ship hall accelerates chemical reactions. The conservators notice precipitates of sulfur salts on the ship and objects. Various measures to solve the problem are planned and initiated. 2004, a new, more effective climate control system is installed. A good climate in the museum is one of the most popular, most important methods of preserving Vasa. 2003 to 2006, a major international research project, Preserve Vasa, is carried out. It yields a variety of new expertise on chemical and biological processes in the wood. 2007, a lift platform is installed at the stern to facilitate the cleaning and study of the sculptures. 2008 to 2011, a new international project, A Future for Vasa, deepens our understanding of marine archaeological wood and the effects of conservation. 2008 to future. In order to design a new support system to carry the weight of the hull and prevent deformation, the structure is documented in 3D and the wood's mechanical properties are measured. The hull and objects are monitored regularly in order to detect any physical or chemical changes. This information is used to plan and prioritise preservation strategies. Vasa was carrying 120 tonnes of stones as ballast. This was not enough to enable the vessel to cope with even a slight squall. For stronger wind, considerably more ballast was needed, but then the ship's gun ports would have been too close to the waterline. The hull should have been somewhat wider and deeper to make room for more ballast. So here she is at the highest most point that we can possibly get to look at Vasa, and what an extraordinary experience to be able to share in history from the 1600s that this could possibly still be 98% original, and also a great opportunity to teach Brianne some boating language. So Brianne, do you remember where the bow is? And do you remember where the stern is? The back, yeah. And what the masts are? Yeah, the tall sticks. Oh, Poppy would be so proud. And do you remember which one is the starboard side?
The right.
And the port side?
Left.
Oh, well done, darling. I take back everything I thought and said. You were listening.
No, you didn't.
So, we're just heading to the old city area. And we have gone a bit overcast, but that's actually quite welcome because it was going to be a very stinking hot day. The Royal Palace in Stockholm. Just magnificent. Over in the old city of Stockholm, Sweden. Skinny little alleyways. And this little gem is a telephone box, which we actually collect photos of, so we were pretty stoked. Oh, look, there's some sexy legs. Very cool. Boo. So we're still in the old city in Sweden, in Stockholm. And look what we've found. We are in trouble. What's Daddy found down there, darling?
Probably no luck.
And Mummy has just found a bookshelf. I'm looking for my miniature book. Oh, this is exciting. Crazy good. This is a 3-metre long Viking rock carving, Sigurd Ristingen. It's illustrating a story of the Sigurd Dragon Slayer, a hero whose adventures are described in Beowulf and the Icelandic sagas. Wow. The story, inspired by Wagner's Ring Cycle and The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings, also borrowed from it. Runes in the dragon's body unrelated to the legend explain that a woman named Sigrid raised a nearby bridge. The abutments can still be seen. They're behind me, though. In memory of her husband, Holmger. Carved into the bedrock around AD 1000, the carving shows Sigurd roasting the heart of a dragon, Fafnir, over a fire. Sigurd's stepfather, Regin, persuaded him to kill Fafnir for the dragon's golden treasure. Sigurd touches the heart to see if it's cooked, then sucks his finger and voila! He tastes the dragon's blood and suddenly understands the language of birds. They warn him that Regin is plotting to kill him and to keep the treasure. So Sigurd attacks first, chopping off his stepfather's head. What a great story. The unfortunate fellow is shown in the left corner of the carving among his scattered tools, obviously without his head. So it's a lovely area. We're about 12 kilometres northeast of Eskilstuna. And considering this is 1,000 years old, it's pretty special. They actually carved it the same way. They were used to carving it in wood, so there's no horizontal lines or no sharp edges, because normally they'd be lost in the wood grain. So you can tell it's very, very well done, and 1,000 years ago. History is amazing. People have been asking about real van life. Well, we've pulled up at Wild Camp in Sweden. We're on our way towards Norway now. And I'm doing the washer. And Brett's just checked the oil in the van. We've just had showers out the back with our wonderful camping shower that we've already told you heaps about. And this is living, baby. Just to give you an idea about some of the beautiful bush that we're driving through. So we're on a bit of a travel day today, which has been fortunate because we've had some rain. We left our last campsite, which was a wild camp, and we met the loveliest young man from Germany, and hearing about all his wonderful adventures and plans coming up, you know, it truly is one of the best things about travelling, the people you meet and the stories and, you know, tips and resources that you get to share. And share in their dreams as well, which is pretty awesome stuff. So we headed north. So we're still in Sweden, but we're heading north because we're in the next day or so we'll cross over into Norway. Is this a sign of the future? Old Tesla. charging stations. And look how many there are. Okay, so free camp tonight outside a shopping centre, and a big shopping centre at that, which will also help with buying supplies. Brett is just setting up. There is free electricity. I am not kidding. Absolutely amazing. Sweden for the win. And we'll be in to check out supplies for tomorrow's crossover. Okay, so another common problem, or not problem, but thing you're going to come across when shopping is anything with a special sign on it like that normally means in Coop, normally means a loyalty card.
That's the loyalty card.
So that's not necessarily what you're going to pay for the meat. Now also, see how it's got a green label on that one? Anything green, whether it be in the fruit and veg section or the meat section, is like eco. So it's going to be a higher price per kilogram. So none of these have a price on them, right? They've only got those little LCD screens show how much per kilo. So you've literally got to work out how much it is a kilo, how many grams it is, and get someone, and then do a currency conversion just to get the price of the meat that you're paying. A wee bit frustrating, as always is the case. Mince is normally the go-to as far as being able to make shepherd's pie, spaghetti bolognese. You know, it's pretty much always going to be on sale in some way, shape or form, and you can do so much with it. But we're trying to step outside that. We have managed to find some bratwurst, chorizo and cabanossi grill pack, so that's pretty exciting for tonight. Hi guys, so we're currently in Sweden and we're looking at crossing over to Norway possibly later today. So we went in to do our last shop because it is a well-known fact that as soon as you cross over, the cost of your fruit and veggies and general living is a lot more. Okay, so we went into the Coop in Sweden, and this is what we bought. Okay, so this whole well, and the 2 breadsticks, this whole selection here is equal to $55 Australian. Now, just to give you an idea, I've already explained just previously on the last video that they do all their meats by a kilo, so there's no price on the actual meat. So make sure you have your phone or a calculator or whatever with you so that you have some idea if you're budgeting what you're doing. Now we've built up spaghetti, we've built up tortillas if we can't get bread, you know, we've got our coffee already done. All the things that can cost you a lot of money we've got with us on board. So we'd like to carry normally 3 days in advance of meals that you're going to cook, and now coming into Norway we've got a minimum of 6 in advance, because we're going to be going through villages and small towns that you just don't know what you're going to have access to, let alone the price that you're going to be paying. We've gotten ahead of the game a little bit just to make sure that hopefully we're way ahead on budget at the moment. We're doing really well on keeping to our 60 euros a day, or roughly 120 Australian a day, and that's including fuel, food, everything. So we're under budget by a reasonable amount, and so the system that we're doing is working. It's just picking meals that you understand what you're buying. A lot of the stuff, we're really hoping that this is tuna in olive oil and if it's not, say la vie. Yeah, we'll try and eat it anyway. But everything has different names. You've just got to get used to what you enjoy eating. We're pretty lucky. Miss B will eat pretty much anything. And loves pasta and all that stuff. So pasta's cheap enough to buy, easy enough to make, and you can add pesto or add, sauces to it and protein quite easily on the road. So here we go. And we hope that these sorts of things help you plan your road tripping. So we're at the rock carvings of the Vikings Museum.
If you look at this one, however, there are two, they are standing like this. Does that mean they're women because they don't have penises? Could be any. I mean, they don't even have arms. They might not even be human. What we do know is they are human form. They might be gods. We don't know that much about Bronze Age religion and myths and stories. So what we can say is they are human form. Another thing that's very hard to interpret is the most common rock carving. The most common rock carving, it's not boats. It's actually cup marks. And cup marks are these things. The tiny round dots. So the boat is second most common here in Bohuslän, and humans are third. But the cup marks is in the first place. In Bohuslän we have about 10,000 boats and 40,000 cup marks. There are a lot of them. They're also very hard to interpret because I can see that a boat is a boat. I can see that a human is a human. What is a round thing? I don't know. Stars, sun, moon. A lot of people interpret it as the sun. But what we can say is that these cup marks, you see there are a lot of them. Here they are scattered in a random pattern. Here they form a line. They probably mean different things. You'll also find that up here there are two cup marks next to each other with birds around them. That is almost always interpreted as the sun. So they can't all be the sun, but they can mean different things. But that's what makes this so much fun, because your ideas of what a rock carving might be as true as my idea of what a rock carving might be.
So we're standing at Stenskipet, which is a rock or stone ship in northern Sweden, in, I think from memory, Bolsholm, which is 40 metres long and believed to be the graves dating 400 to 600 AD. Pretty crazy stuff. The sea level was apparently 5 metres higher than what it is right now in this area, and there's many different not guesses, but many different tales as to what it was built for or for what purpose.
Turn right, then take the second left.
Wow. So this is the part toll road. So we're just going across. Woo! Leaving Sweden. Oh my goodness. Leaving Sweden, going into Norway. And what a view. Both sides. Oh my goodness. Well, I can only imagine what we've got to look forward to if that is the entrance. And then, yep, and as you go over, oh my goodness. We're going over the bridge.
In Norway.
That's amazing. Oh, wow. So we're up at Fredrikstad Fort in Norway. Amazing. Absolutely beautiful. So it was built in the late 1600s. And it has been besieged multiple times by the Swedes, but never conquered. Okay, so now we're at the top of the Opera House, and I am puffing a little bit because that's what happens when you travel with a 10-year-old. He says race you to the top.
Faster.
Oh my goodness. So yes, what a view, and crazy slippery slopes, especially because it's raining, but it's getting really slippery, so goes right down to the water. I'll show you. Look, just slides straight off into the water. It's like, yeah. Of course my child wanted to walk down there. Alright. Hey honey! Hi! Inside the Opera Glacier Opera House in Norway, which was built in 2008. Very beautiful. Akershus Fort. This is Dad leading us through the country to try and find the Viking Museum. There's Oslo. Your app.
My map's me, tells me it's this way.
Oh my gosh. Do we have faith, Bubba?
Yep.
Okay. All right. You're after M&M's tonight, aren't you, honey? Yeah.